Welcome to Conversations in Higher Ed, where collaboration meets innovation. I'm John Myer on behalf of Rackspace Technology here at EDUCAUSE in Nashville. We're sitting down with leaders who are transforming higher education. Today's conversations, it's about what matters most, building trust, empowering students, and creating the future of learning. Joining us today is Gabe. Gabe, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, John. I'm happy to be here.
Gabe, the top 10 initiatives for EDUCAUSE is all about restoring trust in higher education. Why is that a challenge today?
It is a challenge because if you look at the overall team at EDUCAUSE, it's around artificial intelligence, which is AI. And you find out that, some of the challenges that some of the CIOs are facing is around shadow AI. And what does that mean? Shadow AI is when you have institutional staff or students leveraging different types of AI agents or AI chatbots. For instance, you will have some students using Google Gemini, some are using Claude, the others are using Microsoft Copilot, and there's really no specific data governance or guidance around what kind of data that the students can use as part of their prompts to get the information or the insight they want from AI. So that's always been a big challenge without that structured guidance on what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and how do you make sure that any kind of activity is compliant with the institutional regulations or rules.
Is it the challenge more that you don't have a standard for utilizing AI or education around what AI should be used for and what it shouldn't be used for?
Both. Some students have, because of what they watch on TikTok, their fellow friends that are asking them, hey, this is how you can prompt ChatGPT, right? You can upload, say, for instance, your score sheet into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, okay, well, how do I game the system to make sure that going forward, I can get better scores, right? And they have that conversation, with their peers. So what happens at the end of the day is that they end up, going within the institution, taking specific data that is proprietary with PII information, the private identifiable information, without necessarily knowing that information, when it's uploaded as part of the prompt, that goes into the training engine for the AI. And it's also possible for somebody to jailbreak the AI prompt and pull that information out. So putting both the student at risk and other students also at risk. And the way they put other students at risk is a bad actor is able to specifically understand, what does even the grade book or looks like. So they can easily, reverse engineer that information and get into the system. So, and why I said both is very important, that the guidance is very important, and also the specific type of tools, and we can go a little bit into that. The specific type of AI tools the students should be using is also very, very important.
Is one of the challenges is that ChatGPT or AI is readily available to anybody in the public, and students have this information from higher education. They can put it right into any publicly known stuff. They're not using the institution's provided device. They're using their own. The one challenge that I see here is that it doesn't, I don't know if policies are going to do it, but awareness might help, but also the understanding that the data that they put in there could be used in a bad or incorrect way.
It's very important that the students and staff are well educated on what specific tools to use and how to use them, and what specific data classification is allowed to be used as part of a prompt, for instance. But the CIO is also responsible to make sure that there are guardrails around these tools, that while, yes, you can easily access publicly available AI tools, on the internet, if you educate the students on, what AI capabilities you've built in-house that has the guardrails, that gives them the same capability of what they will achieve outside on the internet, then the students can leverage what's available in-house. And even when they make a mistake of maybe uploading information or sharing specific information that is specific to the institution that shouldn't be out there to the public, that AI tool is within the guardrail of the institution, within the control of the institution itself. So it's very, very important to make sure that, yes, the students are well educated on the use of AI. They understand the risk of AI. They understand while they understand, I'm sure most of them understand the potential and the benefit of AI, but AI without the proper security, proper guardrails around it with framework, it's you looking for trouble. So it's so very, very much important that guardrails are in place.
I know institutions aren't readily adopting AI in some things, lack of skills, understanding of it, and also they want to make sure they have the proper guardrails in place. But I think the speed of innovation and utilizing AI and providing it to students and saying, we are encouraging you to use AI, but you have to use our platform. Why? Because it gives you the same results, but the data is not pushed out to the public. It's not actually trained within the public data and available externally. And if somebody does use an external AI source, that it's easily, or there's an identification marker, not a watermark, but something within the tooling that will identify that this AI, this data wasn't produced by our system, thus can't be used and reflects your grade or something.
Yeah, and that's a very good point you mentioned. So a lot of times when I speak to students and staff within those institutions, they ask the questions like, why do students feel that they need to leverage AI tools outside of the walls of the university? That is AI that is managed. Like when I talk about AI, I'm talking about maybe like things like chatbot that is managed within universities' infrastructure. And the reason being that the students felt that because they needed to prompt AI very well, AI doesn't have the context on what question they are asking. And to provide the AI the context, that is the reason they upload, data into AI. And that once that data is uploaded, whoever the AI provider is have access to that information. And like I said, we've seen, Jay Berkers breaking into AI and being able to give specific prompts to pull those information out. The way to do that is for the CIO within the university to implement something we refer to as RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. And this is where they have a data warehouse or a database that has the information that's specific to the university. This data is not publicly available outside, and they can have their AI or the chatbot directly integrate into that Retrieval Augmented Generation to provide AI context. So for instance, if I'm a new student and I need to apply for financial assistance, right? And now, if I go outside of the university and I'm asking AI, well, give me the guidelines to ask for financial assistance. AI is going to ask you, for which university, for which financial institution are you applying to? What specific information about you do I need to have to make sure I'm providing the right information? So there's a tendency for the student to provide their first and last name. Some will probably think AI will probably need my social security number, so that they can help me check to see which financial institution would best, provide me a loan, right? And they provide all this information not knowing, at the end of the day, AI still probably is garbage in, garbage out. AI is not able to provide the right information because AI doesn't have the context. But that information is already out there. Right. But if within the institution where the database and the data warehouse that allows AI to have some context about the financial process or loan application, admission process, all that information is already in-house. And the student uses the AI solution that is built within the institution, within the four walls of the university with the necessary guardrail and governance. Now, the AI is able to provide even better results or answers to your question because the AI understands, maybe you have a student ID, so you don't need to provide your social security number, right? The AI can look at the database and see, have you applied for a student loan before? What grade or level are you at the university? What other, maybe do you have a scholarship that's, are you already, leveraging scholarship? And then the AI can say, well, if you already have a scholarship, these are other financial institution or financial benefits that could be useful to you as that individual. So AI has a context to serve you better. But without that technology built in-house, without the necessary guardrails with that necessary database and data warehouse with retrieval augmented generation. And also one other thing I also want to learn, because even the database doesn't just sit in silos. Within the institution, they have multiple types of applications that they also use. Like, for instance, the admission management system is there. The student information system is also there. Those databases also have to connect to each of those applications to be able to pull that insight and context to serve the student better. Having that infrastructure in place in-house, having the education where you actually help the student to understand what are the capabilities that is available to them, it's very much critical to the successful of AI implementation within those institutions.
Yeah, one of the things out there's some new tools, new innovations. I've seen them where you put them within your network infrastructure. So when you're trying to utilize AI, it sees that it's an AI call externally. It will review the data that you are trying to pass it. And if it is PII data, sensitive data, company data, you get to define it all, by the way, too, as well, that it will scrub that data going out.
Yes.
On top of that, I think one of the innovations is pretty cool is that while you want to ask, so students want to use what they want to use, right?
Yeah.
We all want to use the tool that makes it lives easier.
Yeah.
And we bypass a lot of the security concerns. We're like,
Right.
I don't care. We'll just give it up for that. Utilizing a tool that knows that I can prompt external AI sources, but change the prompt that says this is an internal, please ask, and then put this information together. But this information never makes it out to the AI data set that will be retrained, only a subset of it. And I think that's one of the benefits of it. Gabe,
Yes.
Can you describe some of the pain points that students are actually still experiencing and maybe how you or partners are tackling them with regards to AI?
One of the main problems I think the students are facing today is lack of awareness. Lack of awareness on even how to properly leverage artificial intelligence.
It's so new to everybody.
Because it's very, very...
Just to understand it, the intelligence, the skill sets, the training, and schools aren't even there yet. They should be training this in elementary, right? That is probably the biggest thing because they're going to use it. Their minds are soaking all this in right now.
Yes, and you're spot on. So, like we said earlier, educating the students on how to leverage AI is critically important. One of the challenges they also have is because AI is readily available online, they have specific homework or research that needs to be done. The students will prompt AI, maybe for a specific question or specific research or paper that they're writing, and AI, gives a response. And the big challenge there is the students actually take that information as facts.
They don't challenge the results because they don't know any better.
Correct.
Believing it.
They take it as facts and they take it in and sometimes, just present it to the professor as something they came up with and something they have written. When the professors are reading through it, obviously they can tell this is AI written, and there's a lot of misinformation in there. So back to education, the students need to understand that yes, while AI is capable, AI is able to give you specific information that might be valid, but AI also has the potential to hallucinate. And when AI does that, so they will say, trust but verify. You have to make sure you trust. Now, how do I...
anything when you're interviewing somebody, you trust, but you verify your source, verify your information.
Exactly. So the way I use AI is when I'm doing, and also I always, one of the other things I see a lot of students do is, and please don't stop doing that, where you're asking the prompt AI for, food recipes, right? As a student, you should be leveraging AI for deep research, right? And the way I leverage AI is I leverage AI to do deep research. So for instance, I'll go into Google Gemini and, issue a specific prompt based on a research that I'm working on. When I get that information, I take the output of that information, then I go to Microsoft Copilot and use that information, and then I prompt Microsoft Copilot to see if it's going to give me something different, or maybe the facts. Microsoft Copilot can detect and say, well, the prompt you gave me, you have mentioned that, the president of the United States is Barack Obama, but it's actually not Barack Obama because the AI data itself, it was trained, a couple of years ago. Yeah. It's not up to date, right? Now,
it doesn't have the latest information.
Exactly.
Things are always evolving from time to time. So
exactly. So I prompt Microsoft Copilot, I get that information, then I take that information, and I go into DeepSeek, and I prompt DeepSeek for that same information. And at the end of the day, I'm able to aggregate to identify where are the disparities in the information I'm receiving, and I'm able to make informed judgments to identify and say, okay, well, these are the facts, and maybe this information is misleading or this information is not correct. And then I can research that information to make sure I'm getting the actual facts. But again, look, it is the responsibility of the technology leaders within the institution to make sure that all the tools I just mentioned, the DeepSeek, Microsoft Copilot, whatever that tool is something that they deploy in-house and that has their own data behind the scene, right?
How do you validate that they're using, say, Copilot, right? They're using the institution's Copilot version versus their own external one. How do you validate?
So a very good example is Amazon Bedrock, right? You can actually deploy Amazon Bedrock, which is also one of the AI solutions offered by AWS,
yep.
which you can actually deploy within your own tenants, AWS tenants, and you can actually have it connecting to your database, to your application.
You can import your own data sets.
Exactly. You can import your own data set into it, and it can still give you the same capabilities that you would have instead of you having to go through, 5 different, chatbots or provided by 5 different vendors. You can still leverage one that is within the environment that will give you more accurate results, right? Say, for instance, when you prompt, say, DeepSeek or you prompt ChatGPT, now, behind the scene is a large language model that is used to provide those responses, right? Now, that large language model is trained on data across the internet, data that is not specific to your institution, right? But when you have, say, Amazon Bedrock within your own tenant connected to your own database, you can also train your own model. So we have different flavor of model. We have the large language model, and we also have the small language model, that is derived from the large language model, augmented with your information, with your data, where, so you're not losing anything by using the in-house version
yep.
of what's out there.
Yep.
And I think that's just very critical. That's how, students and staff are thinking about AI, using AI.
Gabe, one of the things that I see is that for higher ed institutions, and even in corporate life, you have to reduce the friction in order to use a tool.
Correct.
Or order to use it. So if it's easier for a student to use their external AI source versus the institutionally provided one, they're going to use their external because there's too many hoops jumped across. If it's seamlessly integrated into their application, into maybe their Blackboard, however they want to do for this higher education, then the student's more apt to use it. And it's a requirement by the institution to use ours because of safety and security.
Correct.
That's where I see that they could definitely benefit from this. Gabe, I'm going to wrap up with my last question is, how do you actually balance, or how do institutions balance this innovation along with processes that really need to innovate with AI, along with supporting the next version of AI or the next new thing that comes along?
For them to be able to balance, the use of AI, one, I'm sure there's everyone is talking about AI agents.
Yep.
Right.
That's the next new thing. So we did AI for a couple of years. Now we need an agent.
They're talking about AI agents. And earlier we are talking about even they going as far as building their own small language model based off of the large language model. In order for them to balance, that with innovation, speed of innovation, is that they need to start thinking about their data. AI is all about data. Now, where is the data located? Is the data dispersed across different departments within the institution? If that's the case, maybe you need to have a data warehouse where everything is aggregated and you can wrap governance around that data. And governance will be around, who uses the data, what is the content of the data, how does that data, does that data use compliant with the regulatory requirements? That's number one. Number two is they have to have, be able to generate context from the data. Because if the data is they say garbage in, garbage out, right? If the data is not well structured, the data doesn't have any meaning, right? Then you can't really use that data for AI. And that's where sometimes when you leverage such data for AI tends to hallucinate because data is just not clean. And the last point around balancing that innovation is that the end user must, have trust in the fact that yes, their data is secure, right? Because if you go at the speed of innovation and just say, well, let's just implement innovation for the sake of it, and you leave the people, process, and tech with people, process, or now we know we have the technology, but you leave the people and the process out of it, yes, you may have speed of innovation, but at the end of the day, you might find yourself, becoming stuck because maybe God forbid, you got hacked, right? And at the end of the day, the innovation has to come to a halt. So to balance innovation, you have to think in terms of your data, your governance, your security. You have to think of the people. You have to think of the process. You have to also, just even when I say the process, I'm talking about even some of the process workflow. Like at what point do you, from marketing your institution to the student making an inquiry because they saw the marketing, to the students applying to the institution, and the student have to trust that when they apply, the information they are providing to the student is secure, and that's where trust come back in. And looking at the entire workflow is so critical and important that trust is, the bedrock of everything they do. So you're able to, if you can balance trust, you can include the people, you can understand the process, you wrap it around your data governance, then you're able to actually balance, the deliverables and innovation as a whole.
Gabe, I like it that you brought us back from AI, trust, and the student data. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks, John.
Let's thank Gabe for sharing his insights with us. I'm John Myer here at EDUCAUSE. Until next time.